Does history repeat itself? The short answer is yes. But the more important questions are, what exactly is repeating? Why does history repeat itself? And how can you, yes you, stop it from repeating? Conventional wisdom says, unless you learn about history, it's bound to repeat itself. But is that true? Did you learn about history in school? Does it seem like it's repeating? It certainly seems to me like we learnt about it in school and it's repeating. So learning about history clearly doesn't stop it repeating. What if, like some people say these days, you pretend it didn't happen? That's an important question that we will answer later, once you understand those 3 questions. What is repeating? Why is it doing so? And how to change it. Let me ask you a few questions. Did you learn about World War II and Hitler in school? Did you learn about climate change in school? Did you learn about the mass migration that would happen as a result of climate change? I know I did. When you learned those things as a child, were they scary? I know they were for me, learning about Hitler and the death camps and about all the crazy things that would happen as a result of climate change. And that's the point. When we learn things with emotion, they get stored deeply inside like a small trauma. They become a part of who we are, attracting similar feeling events into our future. Did you catch that? It's not necessarily the events themselves. It's the complex of feelings. That's where the energy is. That is what gets repeated. It's like you have a massive set of antennae, one for each event from your past, and the ones that are stored with emotion are much longer and more powerful than the ones without. So you have one antenna for each time you were humiliated or bullied as a child, one for each time you were frightened, sad, or angry, each time you were embarrassed, disgusted, or ignored. These antennae attract things to you, to your future, unless you shrink them. But we will talk about that later. Let's look at one example of what is repeating. Think back to when you were at school and you were learning about climate change, the unpredictable weather events, the extreme temperatures, the melting snowcap, and the rising seawater levels. How did you feel as you learned about that future? Afraid? Afraid for you, your family, your friends? Afraid of the unknown? Confused by different opinions? Anything else? Angry maybe? Resentful perhaps? All those emotions that you felt at the time were stored with information about climate change within you. It's that complex of emotions that repeats. Have you felt a similar way recently? Our past lives inside of us. Your past lives inside of you, and it creates your future. Don't believe me? Let's see how this happens. I've got 3 examples for you. First one, have you had an experience of researching and buying a new car, a car new to you, and then seeing that car everywhere? That is a short-term creation. 2, did you have a dog as a child or a cat? If so, you are more likely to have a pet as an adult. That's more of a long-term creation. But once you have one, your future will change. You will change your daily routine to accommodate your pet, and you will be more likely to notice other pets. That's a short-term creation. Here's another example that will get you thinking. What age did your parents live to? Your grandparents? What age have you been told humans live to? So, what age do you think you will live to? I'm guessing you said somewhere in the age range from the youngest death in the family to around 120. Is that what you think? Is that what you believe? But what if I told you the Sumerian king list and the Bible describe extreme longevity, hundreds or even thousands of years? Even so, how long you live will probably be within the range of what you believe, because it's based on your past, which lives inside of you as memories and emotions. These memories and emotions emit a signal. With a new car, the emotion may have been excitement and some fear of the new, perhaps. With the pet, it may also be excitement, maybe fear, some sadness from past experiences, and love. With the age of death, it could be with fear and sadness from past losses, and those signals attract our future. Are you with me? Let's look first at exactly how you stored those emotions. Then look at how you can clear them if you want to. By the way, if you want to live to a ripe old age, older than you ever imagined, this is the work to be doing. Now, when you were a child, your brainwaves made storing new information, everything you experienced, easy. What you learned in those early years settled into your subconscious mind. You were programmed. So even if you haven't ridden a bicycle in decades, if you learned to ride one as a child, you still know how to do it. When my friend couldn't remember the answer to the question 7 times 8, can you? Her dad slammed his fist down onto the table and shouted, 56! You see, my friend had a difficult time learning her times tables in school. Her dad helped her with her homework. He was also a sheriff, an authority figure. She was so shocked by his bout of anger and the sound of his fist on the table, a small trauma, that she stored this memory deeply with fear. And she has never and will never forget the answer to 7 times 8. It is ingrained in her. I would be willing to bet that she has experienced this same shock, this same complex of emotions, and possibly the number 56, many times throughout her life. So memories stored with emotion are much more powerful than those without. Tony Robbins would agree. And memories stored as a child are more powerful than those as an adult, because our brain waves change as we grow and we are less susceptible to programming. Those scary members of Hitler, of the death camps, the concentration camps, the lack of empathy and compassion, those memories are stored inside of you, inside of me, inside of whole generations, stored with emotion, influencing our collective and individual futures. These emotion antennae attract things to you, to your future, unless you shrink them. So to change your future, you have to change your past. And your past lives inside of you. Is that even possible? It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Let's look at that next. Before we do, hi, I'm Hince, and I help people find profound inner peace. Please hit the like button below. It's easy to do and doesn't cost you anything. And please subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps the algorithm show these videos to more people. Thank you. If learning about history doesn't stop it repeating itself, then what does? Changing the way history lives inside of you does. Now, there are people out there, and you may be one of them, who don't believe you can change the past. While that may or may not be true, you can certainly change the way the past lives inside of you. Change the way a memory affects you. Change the size of your antenna. So how exactly can you do that? First, let's see what it takes to do this work. Time. Are you willing to spend the time it takes? Courage. Are you willing to feel things that don't feel good? Focus. Are you willing to focus your attention on this work? Persistence. Are you willing to keep going, even when it is hard, because you know your future will change? Do you have those traits? If so, you may be one of the few with the power and determination to change your future. I hope you are. So how can you go about changing your future by changing the past? First, we have to review our past, but not just once, over and over again, feeling but not acting on the emotions as they arise, until we can tell the story of what happened in full detail with no emotions left, until it is just a story, until we can tell the story like we were reading from a book, with no attachments to the story or the characters involved. You are opening up a wound inside of you and clearing it out, cleaning it out so that it can heal. You are shortening the antenna for one story so it isn't attracting into your future. There are some techniques that can help this go faster. EFT, journaling, EMDR. You can do this work on your own or with a therapist or practitioner. Personally, I wasn't willing to be vulnerable with anyone else, so I did this work on my own at home using EFT. And I have more to do, clearly, otherwise the past would not be repeating. If you'd like the blueprint of how I went about this work, step by step, my blueprint to profound inner peace is available for free download on my website, anhince.com. Now, there's one other alternative that we haven't talked about yet, but it's certainly an idea that has been considered recently. What if you ignore history? Pretend it didn't happen. The problem with this is that it did happen. Your parents knew it happened, your grandparents knew it happened, those around you knew it happened. So you aren't actually ignoring it, you are bypassing it. Those memories still live inside of you from your parents and your grandparents, and you sense discomfort whether you know it or not from those around you. This discomfort, this dis-ease lives inside of you. The antenna may not be as big, but it is still there. It's much more powerful to address it and release it than it is to keep it hidden. So let's review. You don't want to avoid history. That keeps all of those emotions stored inside of you from your ancestors suppressed. And you don't want to learn about history and not deal with the emotions. That also keeps the emotions suppressed. What you want to do is to take the middle road. You want to learn about history, or if you are an adult, you want to recall what you learned about history and process the emotions as you go. You want to know what happened, but be at peace with what happened. So you are no longer attracting it into your future, into our future. Learn history, but process the emotions as you go.